Well, I hope that you are doing well today. I hope that your week has been good to you so far. I hope that you're excited to settle down for the next few minutes, maybe take a break and just reflect on the Word of God and to think about it. It truly is a blessing to have God's Word at our fingertips. It's always readily available to us, and we ought to be thankful for that, I think. We certainly need to remember several families that have lost loved ones over the past week. We need to be lifting them up in prayer and showering them with love. If you're sick or hurting in any way and we don't know about it, we want to know about it because we want to be praying for you. And if we can do anything at all for you, we just ask that you would ask us, and we'll see if we can make that happen or not. We're in the book of Genesis, right? And we're in chapter 9. Chapter 9 is a pretty interesting chapter in Genesis. We're going to start with verses 1 through 7, and this is what the text said. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground and all the fish of the sea. Into your hand they are delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything, but you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. And for your lifeblood I will require a reckoning. From every beast I will require it, and from man. From his fellow man I will require a reckoning for the life of man. Okay, so God now is going to define the future relationship that humanity has with the earth, but not only the relationship that humanity has with the earth, the relationship that humanity is going to have with God. And notice that God blesses Noah and his family with the same blessing that he previously blessed humanity with. That is to say, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, go out and populate the earth. But then God says this as well: the relationship between animals and humans has changed somewhat. Humans are going to have dominion over the animals. They are going to rule over the animals, and as a result, there is going to be a sense of dread that the animals are going to have because the humans are going to rule over them. And this is something that every animal is going to have. But then notice that God also changed the diet of humans. Originally, humans had only a green diet, but now they are allowed to eat meat. But notice that that does not come without a stipulation. Humans cannot eat the meat with the life force in it. That is to say, they can't eat meat with blood. They have to drain the blood from the meat. And if human beings murder another human being, or an animal murders a human being, God is going to hold that person or that animal responsible. Now, remember that even after the flood, God blessed humanity by creating humans with his image. That is to say that humans are intrinsically valuable. But we'll notice what it says, that if a human, notice what it's, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Notice what it says. If a human murders another human, humans are acting openly in a revolt, right, against God if humans are made in the very image of God. So there we go. This is different, right? Humans can now eat meat, and that's a good thing. And we are slowly but surely finding out why blood plays such a large part in sacrifice and in the food laws that we'll read about in the book of Leviticus. Let's keep going. We can now go to verses 8 through 17. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, Behold, I will establish my covenant with you and with your offspring after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and every beast of the earth with you, as many as come out of the ark. It is for every beast of the earth. I will establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all the flesh that is on the earth. Okay, this is a pretty repetitive section in the book, especially in chapter 9. That's what I meant to say. It's a pretty repetitive section in chapter 9. But notice that God is now going to establish a covenant with Noah and his sons, but not only with Noah and his sons. The covenant doesn't stop with them. This is a covenant for all subsequent generations. That is to say, the covenant never expires, right? This is a unilateral covenant, and it is not dependent upon humans performing certain actions or duties. That is to say, that even if humans act up in a very terrible way, God is still not going to flood the earth to destroy mankind again. And humans can be reassured of this covenant by seeing the bow that God has set in the sky. That is the rainbow, right? So this is a symbol that God uses not only to remind himself of the covenant that he made with man and the creatures of the earth, but also to remind the creatures and humanity of the covenant that God has made with them. Well, now we get into a genealogy. We learn about the sons of Noah. The sons of Noah who went forth from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. So we actually are able to see one grandson of Noah. Why is this one grandson mentioned? Well, we'll see in just a few minutes, or in a moment, I guess. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the people of the whole earth were dispersed. So they acted as the heads of all people that could be observed on the earth after this point in time, that is to say, after the flood, right? Well, Noah is an innovator as well. We saw some innovators at the end of the narrative about Cain, and now we see that Noah was an innovator himself in viniculture. Noah began to be a man of the soil, so he does exactly what Adam does, right? He works the soil. So he began to be a man of the soil, and he planted a vineyard. Okay, Noah, you are planting these vineyards. What exactly are you going to do after you harvest these vineyards? Well, he's going to make wine. Now, this is exactly right what the beginning of verse 21 says. He drank of the wine. Well, this is a big deal, right? Because in terms of drinking options in the ancient past, there aren't many, right? This is a new one. Wine is a new one. Wine can bring about joy for some people. Wine can bring about relaxation. You might remember that Noah's name actually conveys the idea, I guess we should say, of rest. His name actually means rest. So this is just witnessing to the fact that Noah, in some way, in more than one way, I guess we might say, is bringing about rest. Well, he drank of the wine and became drunk. Okay, this is where things get bad, right? Because drunkenness allows for the possibility of one to participate in a shameful act, or become the object of a shameful act. We're going to see the latter, right? And Ham, well, remember Ham. Ham was the father of Canaan. That one grandson is mentioned. Well, what exactly did Ham do? And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. So it seems that the transgression of Ham was that he saw the nakedness of Noah. Now, where was Noah naked? Noah was naked in his tent. So obviously there's still some discretion involved, even though Noah is drunk, right? Well, Ham walks in and sees the nakedness of his father. Well, that's a very shameful act, right? Yes. Well, what does he do after that? Well, he sort of adds to his transgression by going and telling his brothers instead of trying and seeking to minimize or altogether mitigate the shamefulness of his father. Well, what did Shem and Japheth do? Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on their shoulders, and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. So, in an attempt to minimize the shamefulness of their father, they do what Ham should have done, and they awkwardly cover him up in such a way that they actually don't see the nakedness of their father. This shows us that even though one brother does something that's wrong, the other two do what's right. So there is some hope for the family. When families experience hard times, members of the family can bring about a resolution, I think. So their faces were turned backward, and they did not see their father's nakedness. We know that. When Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall be to his brothers." Now, we're going to see that what follows is a series of curses and blessings, were those curses and blessings specifically meant for the individual, or were they meant for the peoples, tribes, nations that would come from these three individuals? I think the answer to that is yes, right? Both in some type of way. Well, what's going to happen to Ham? Well, the curse upon Ham is going to be a curse upon Canaan. Now, why curse Canaan and not curse Ham? Well, I think the reason, obviously, if Ham was cursed, Canaan is going to be cursed as well, right? Yeah, it's going to follow the future generations. We already said that. Okay, so if it's going to follow the future generations, why feel the need to point Canaan out by name? I think this is to show that the tension, I guess, and we'll just go with that. The tension, for right now, we'll go with that. The tension that Canaan is going to play in the redemptive story of Israel. All right. And it goes back to this. Well, he's going to be a servant of servants to his brothers. He also said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem." Well, what does that communicate? Let him dwell in the tents of Shem. Well, maybe it communicates that as brothers, they're just going to be unified, and because they're unified, they are going to live in peace and in harmony with one another. Or maybe it's indicating that Japheth is going to get so strong that he's going to sort of infringe on the territory of his brother Shem. I'll let you study that and decide. "And let Canaan be his servant." After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. All the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. Well, chapter 10 begins by saying, "These are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Sons were born to them after the flood." Okay, chapter 10 is going to tell us where all the peoples, tribes, and nations came from after the flood. We know they had to come from Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the three sons of Noah, but we're going to get a more detailed description. We're not going to take the time to go through that since the video is going to be a bit rushed. Okay, we get to chapter 11, and I don't have time to go through chapter 11 without breaking it up, and I don't want to do that, especially with the beginning of chapter 11. So we're at 16 minutes. We're about to be at 16 minutes, so we'll just stop here. Go ahead and read chapter 10, even though some of those names might be difficult, and even though it might not be the most interesting read, just try to push through it. It does have some valuable information in it. I hope you're enjoying our study of Genesis. I know that I am, and I can't wait to see everybody Sunday. God bless.